He found his 3-year-old daughter eating for the first time in 2 weeks. She was crying, holding a piece of bread in her tiny hands. But here's what broke him. When he asked her why she'd stopped eating, she whispered 6 words that shattered his world. "I wanted to see Mommy again." This little girl had been trying to die, and the stranger who saved her life, she did it with something so simple. You won't believe it worked. If you've ever felt helpless watching someone you love disappear right in front of you, you need to hear this story. Because what happens next will change how you see grief, love, and the power of human connection forever. Stay with me. I promise you, this is a story you'll never forget. Welcome to the story room. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. Let me take you back to where it all began. To the moment when a man who could buy anything in the world realized money couldn't save the only thing that mattered. In the heart of Dubai, in a penthouse that touched the clouds, lived a man named Thomas Reed. He was a real estate developer, the kind of man who built towers that changed skylines, hotels that became landmarks, shopping centers where thousands of people walked every day. His name was on buildings across 3 continents. When he spoke, investors listened. When he signed contracts, fortunes were made. But money can't stop tragedy. 6 months before our story begins, Thomas lost his wife, Sarah. It wasn't a long illness where you get to say goodbye. It wasn't something you could prepare for. It was a regular Tuesday morning. She kissed him goodbye, got in her car, and never came home. A truck ran a red light. That's all it took. One moment, one mistake, and his whole world shattered. Their daughter, little Emma, was only 3 years old. Too young to understand death. Too young to understand why Mommy wasn't coming back from her trip. Too young to process the pain that was drowning her small heart. At first, Emma asked questions. When is Mommy coming home? Can we video call her? Did I do something wrong? But as days turned into weeks, the questions stopped. Emma stopped asking. Then she stopped talking altogether. She stopped playing with her toys. Stopped watching her favorite cartoons. Stopped smiling. And 2 weeks ago, she stopped eating. Thomas hired everyone he could find. Child psychologists from London. Pediatric specialists from New York. Nutritionists who'd written books. Therapists who'd spent 30 years working with traumatized children. They came to the penthouse with their degrees and their theories and their meal plans. They sat with Emma. They talked to her. They tried everything they knew. Nothing worked. Emma would sit on the floor of her pink bedroom, staring at the wall. Her father would kneel beside her with a plate of food, begging her to take just one bite. Just one. She wouldn't even look at him. Her eyes were empty, like she was looking at something no one else could see. Like she'd already left this world and was just waiting for her body to follow. Every day, she got thinner. Her cheeks hollowed out. Her arms looked like twigs. Her clothes hung loose on her tiny frame. The doctors said physically there was nothing wrong with her. No illness. No disease. She was choosing not to eat. But they couldn't tell him why. They couldn't tell him how to stop it. Mrs. Rodriguez, the housekeeper who'd been with the family since Emma was born, cried every time she brought up an untouched meal. She'd known Emma since she was a baby, watched her take her first steps, heard her first words. And now she was watching her fade away, and there was nothing she could do. Thomas threw himself into work. What else could he do? He couldn't save his daughter. He couldn't bring back his wife. So he worked 18-hour days, 20-hour days. He'd come home when Emma was already asleep and leave before she woke up. He told himself he was providing, making sure she had the best care, the best doctors, the best everything. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was running. Running from his grief. Running from his guilt. Running from the helpless feeling that ate at him every time he looked at his daughter and didn't know how to reach her. The penthouse became a tomb. Quiet. Cold. Filled with expensive furniture and empty hearts. The view of Dubai's skyline from the floor-to-ceiling windows was breathtaking, but no one looked at it anymore. The marble floors echoed with silence. The chef's kitchen sat unused. The playroom filled with thousands of dollars worth of toys collected dust. And in a small pink bedroom on the second floor, a 3-year-old girl sat on the carpet, waiting to die. Thomas didn't know it yet, but he was about to lose everything. His company, his reputation, his purpose. Because none of that mattered anymore. The only thing that mattered was the little girl upstairs who was slipping away, and he had no idea how to save her. That's when someone unexpected walked through the door. Her name was Amara. She was 26 years old, from a small village outside the city, where people knew your name and your story. Where houses were small but hearts were big. Where money was tight but love was abundant. She'd come to Dubai looking for work, any work, to help support her grandmother back home. Mrs. Rodriguez hired her without asking Thomas. She was desperate. They needed help. Another pair of hands. Someone who could cook, clean, help with the endless tasks of running a household where everything was falling apart. On Amara's first morning, Mrs. Rodriguez took her aside in the kitchen. The older woman's eyes were red, her voice shaking. "There's something you need to know about this house," she said quietly. "The little girl upstairs, Emma. She's dying. Not from sickness. From grief. She won't eat, won't talk, won't live. The doctors can't help her. Her father doesn't know what to do. I'm telling you this because it's not going to be easy working here. This house is full of sadness." Amara listened carefully. Then she asked a question that surprised Mrs. Rodriguez. "Can I meet her?" Mrs. Rodriguez shook her head. "She doesn't respond to anyone." "I know," Amara said softly. "But can I try?" There was something in Amara's eyes. Not pity, not confidence. Something else. Something that looked like understanding. Mrs. Rodriguez didn't know it yet, but Amara carried her own story. Her own loss. Her own understanding of what it meant to be a child who didn't want to live anymore. And that understanding was about to change everything. That afternoon, while Thomas was at his office signing contracts that didn't matter anymore, Amara climbed the marble staircase to the second floor. Her heart pounded with each step. Mrs. Rodriguez had told her not to expect anything, not to be disappointed when Emma didn't respond. But Amara wasn't going up there expecting anything. She was going because once, a long time ago, she'd been that little girl on the floor. The door to Emma's room was slightly open. Amara knocked gently. No answer. She pushed it open slowly. The room was beautiful. Painted soft pink with white trim. Shelves lined with books and stuffed animals. A dollhouse in the corner that probably cost more than Amara made in a year. Everything a little girl could want. Everything except what she needed most. Emma sat on the floor with her back against the bed. Her blonde hair hung limp around her thin face. Her eyes stared at nothing. She didn't look up when Amara entered. Didn't acknowledge her presence at all. Amara didn't try to talk to her right away. She just sat down on the floor, not too close, about 6 feet away. She pulled her knees up to her chest and sat there in the silence. Minutes passed. The only sound was their breathing. Finally, Amara spoke. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "You know, Emma, you don't have to talk to me if you don't want to." Emma's eyelashes flickered. Just slightly. Amara continued, her voice soft and honest. "When I was 8 years old, my mama died. And after she died, I didn't want to talk to anyone either. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to play. I just wanted everything to stop." The room was so quiet. But something had shifted. Emma's head turned. Just a fraction of an inch. "My grandmother, she used to sit with me every day," Amara said. "She didn't force me to do anything. She just sat there. And after a while, she told me something I've never forgotten. She said, when your heart hurts this much, your body forgets how to do normal things. Like eating. Like smiling. That's okay. Your body will remember when it's ready." Silence. Then, so quiet Amara almost missed it, Emma spoke. "Your mama died?" Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, sweetheart. She did." Emma turned her head a little more. Her voice was tiny. "Mine too." "I know," Amara said gently. "And I'm so sorry." Emma stared at her. Really looked at her. Like she was searching for something in Amara's face. Searching for proof that this stranger understood. "Does it hurt?" Emma whispered. Amara didn't lie. "Every day. Does it ever stop? The hurt gets softer. Not gone, but softer. Like it's still there, but it doesn't cut as deep. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I want my mommy. I know you do, baby. I know. For the first time in 2 weeks, Emma cried. Not silent tears. Real crying. The kind that comes from deep in your chest. The kind that hurts coming out because it's been trapped so long. Amara moved closer and opened her arms. Emma crawled into them and sobbed. Her tiny body shook. Her tears soaked Amara's shirt. And Amara just held her, rocking her gently, letting her release everything she'd been holding inside. I miss her, Emma cried. I miss her so much. I know. I know you do. They sat like that for a long time. When Emma's crying finally slowed, she pulled back and looked at Amara with swollen eyes. Will you stay? She whispered. Amara's voice broke. As long as you need me. Downstairs, Mrs. Rodriguez heard the crying. She ran up the stairs and stopped in the doorway, her hand over her mouth. Emma was crying. After months of silence, she was crying. And she was being held by someone who understood. The next morning, Amara did something that shocked everyone. Instead of preparing the elaborate, nutritionist-approved meal plan the doctors had created, she made something simple. Flatbread with cheese and honey. The kind of thing her grandmother used to make for her when she was little. She brought it up to Emma's room and sat down in the same spot as yesterday. Emma was there on the floor, watching her. Amara didn't offer Emma the food. Instead, she took a bite herself. Emma watched. Amara chewed slowly, like she had all the time in the world. My grandmother used to say, Amara said softly, that food tastes better when you eat it with someone who understands you. Emma stared at the flatbread. My mommy made something like that. Amara's heart squeezed. Did she? Emma nodded. On Friday mornings. Then she had wonderful taste. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then her small hand reached out. Her fingers trembled as they touched the flatbread. She picked up a small piece and brought it close to her face. Tears rolled down her cheeks. If I eat it, she whispered, will I forget her? Amara leaned forward. No, sweetheart. Eating it means you remember her. Every bite is like saying, I remember those Friday mornings with Mommy. I remember how much she loved me. Emma's eyes squeezed shut. Promise. I promise. Emma took a tiny bite. She chewed slowly, tears streaming down her face. Then she swallowed. And then she took another bite. In the doorway, Mrs. Rodriguez watched with both hands over her heart, tears pouring down her face. The child who'd been dying was eating. Not because of doctors or meal plans or expertise. Because someone had finally reached her heart. Emma ate 3 small pieces that morning. Her first food in 14 days. When she finished, she looked at Amara with exhausted eyes. Miss Amara? Yes, baby? Can we do this every Friday? Like Mommy used to? Amara pulled her close. Every single Friday. I promise. But even in this moment of hope, there was something Emma hadn't told anyone yet. A secret she'd been carrying alone. A truth that would explain everything and break everyone's heart all over again. For 3 weeks, Emma ate. Small amounts at first, then more. The color returned to her cheeks. The light came back to her eyes. She started talking more, asking questions, even laughing sometimes. The penthouse that had felt like a graveyard started to feel like a home again. Thomas noticed. How could he not? His daughter was coming back to life. He started coming home earlier. Started having dinner with Emma. Started reading her bedtime stories again, something he hadn't done since Sarah died. Every night, he'd tuck her in and stay until she fell asleep, his hand holding hers. And every Friday morning, Amara made flatbread with cheese and honey. It became their ritual. Emma would wake up early, excited, and sit at the kitchen counter while Amara prepared their special breakfast. They'd eat together, talking about small things. Emma's favorite color. The birds outside the window. Stories about Amara's grandmother. Thomas watched from the doorway sometimes. Watched this woman who'd walked into their broken home and somehow put the pieces back together. He felt something he hadn't felt in months. Gratitude. And something else. Something that scared him, because it felt like hope. One Friday morning, about a month after Amara arrived, something changed. Emma was quieter than usual. She ate her flatbread slowly, her eyes distant. When they finished, she didn't run off to play like she normally did. She just sat there, staring at her empty plate. "Emma?" Amara said gently. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Emma's voice came out small. "Miss Amara, can I tell you something?" "Always. You can tell me anything." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Promise you won't be mad?" Amara's heart started racing. "I promise." Emma took a shaky breath. "I wasn't sick." "What do you mean?" "When I stopped eating." Emma's voice cracked. "I did it on purpose." The air left the room. Amara couldn't breathe. "Emma, my grandmother, she told me Mommy went to heaven. So I thought." Emma started crying. "I thought if I stopped eating, I could go there too. I could see Mommy again." And if you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because this is only the beginning. Amara felt like she'd been punched in the chest. "Oh, Emma. I tried really hard," Emma sobbed. "But it hurts so much. My tummy hurt and my head hurt, and I got so tired. But I kept thinking if I just waited a little longer, I'd see her. I'd get to hug her again." Amara pulled Emma into her arms, her own tears falling. "Baby, no. No, no, no." "I'm sorry," Emma cried. "I'm sorry. You don't have to be sorry. You are hurting so much." Amara held her tighter. "But, Emma, listen to me. Your mommy doesn't want you in heaven yet. She wants you here. She wants you to grow up and be happy and live a beautiful life. But I miss her." "I know. And you'll always miss her. But missing her and living your life, those can happen at the same time." Emma pulled back, looking at Amara with devastated eyes. "There's more." Amara's stomach dropped. "What, sweetheart?" "I thought." Emma's voice broke completely. "I thought Daddy didn't want me anymore."
"What?"
"No, Emma. After Mommy died, he stopped staying with me.
"He stopped reading to me."
He stopped tucking me in. He was always working. Always gone." Emma sobbed. "So I thought maybe he was sad because of me. Maybe he wished I'd gone with Mommy, so he didn't have to take care of me anymore." Amara couldn't speak. Tears poured down her face. "That's why I stopped eating," Emma whispered. "I thought if I went to heaven, Daddy could be happy again." In the doorway, Thomas stood frozen. He'd come home early, wanting to surprise Emma. Instead, he'd heard everything. His hand was pressed over his mouth. His whole body shook. Emma hadn't just been trying to reach her mother. She'd been trying to set him free. He walked into the room. His footsteps made Emma and Amara look up. Emma's eyes went wide with fear. "Daddy, I..." Thomas dropped to his knees and pulled Emma into his arms. He held her so tight, sobbing into her hair. "No," he choked out. "No, baby.
"No.
You didn't make me sad.
Losing your mommy made me sad. But you?"
You're the only reason I'm still here. You're the only good thing I have left." Emma cried harder. "But you left me alone." "I know."
His voice shattered.
"I know I did. And I'm so sorry. I was so scared of losing you the way I lost Mommy that I pushed you away. I thought if I just worked and provided everything you needed, I could keep you safe. But I didn't realize." He couldn't finish. "You didn't realize I needed you more than anything else," Emma whispered. Thomas nodded, unable to speak. "I thought you didn't love me anymore." "God, Emma." He pulled back, holding her face in his hands. "I love you more than anything in this world. More than my company. More than money. More than my own life. You are everything to me. Everything." "Promise you won't leave again?" "I promise. I swear to you, sweetheart. I'm never leaving you again." Emma threw her arms around his neck. Father and daughter held each other, both crying, both broken, both beginning to heal. Amara stood up quietly, giving them space. As she moved toward the door, Thomas reached out and grabbed her hand. "Don't go," he said, his voice raw.
"Please.
You're part of this now. Part of us." Amara looked at them through her tears. This broken family that was slowly becoming whole. And she realized something. She hadn't just helped them heal. They'd helped her heal too. "I'm not going anywhere," she said softly. That day changed everything. Not just for Emma, but for all of them. Because sometimes the truth, even when it breaks your heart, is what finally sets you free. And sometimes the darkest secrets, when brought into the light, lose their power to destroy you. After that morning, something shifted in the penthouse. The walls that everyone had built around their hearts started coming down. Brick by brick. Conversation by conversation. Meal by meal. Thomas stopped going to the office every day. He started working from home more, keeping his door open so Emma could come in whenever she wanted. And she did. She'd wander in with her stuffed rabbit, climb into the chair beside his desk, and just sit there coloring while he worked. He'd look over at her every few minutes, still unable to believe she was really okay. Really alive. In the evenings, the three of them started having dinner together. Not in the formal dining room that nobody used, but at the kitchen island, their feet dangling from bar stools, talking about their days. Emma would tell stories about the butterflies she saw on the balcony. Amara would share memories of her village, making Emma laugh with tales of the mischievous goat that used to steal clothes from the washing line. Thomas would listen, really listen, and for the first time in months he felt present. Not just physically there, but truly present. Mrs. Rodriguez watched it all with tears of joy in her eyes. The house that had been dying was coming back to life. One evening, about 2 months after Amara arrived, Emma was in bed and Thomas found Amara on the balcony. The Dubai skyline glittered below them, a million lights against the dark sky. She was leaning against the railing, looking out at the city. "You're not just staff, you know," Thomas said quietly, coming to stand beside her. Amara glanced at him. "I know. I don't just mean to Emma. I mean to me too." She turned to face him fully. "Thomas, these past 2 months, watching you with Emma, watching you bring life back into this house." He paused, struggling with the words. "You didn't just save my daughter. You saved me too." Amara's eyes glistened. "You saved yourself. You just needed someone to remind you how." "No." He shook his head. "It was you. Your kindness. Your patience. Your heart." He took a breath. "Amara, I'm falling in love with you." The words hung between them. Amara's hand went to her chest. "I'm not asking for anything," he said quickly. "I know this is complicated. I know I'm your employer. I know there's Emma to think about. I just needed you to know. You've given us so much, and I love you too," she said softly.
He stopped.
"You do? How could I not?" Her voice shook. "You let yourself be broken so you could heal. You stopped running from your pain and faced it. You became the father Emma needed. That's who I fell in love with. Not the businessman. Not the penthouse owner. The man who sits on the floor reading bedtime stories. The man who makes silly faces to make his daughter laugh. That man." Thomas crossed the space between them and kissed her. It was gentle, careful, full of everything they'd both been too afraid to say. When they pulled apart, both were crying and smiling. "What do we tell Emma?" Amara whispered. Thomas looked back toward the apartment. "The truth. That after loss, love can find its way back." "You think she'll understand?" "I think she already knows." The next morning, Emma came into the kitchen and found them making breakfast together. Thomas was flipping eggs while Amara cut fruit, and they were laughing about something, their shoulders touching. Emma climbed onto her usual stool and watched them with curious eyes. After a minute, she said, "Are you going to get married?" They both turned to her, surprised. Thomas knelt beside her chair. "Maybe someday if Miss Amara says yes. Would that be okay with you?" Emma looked thoughtful. "Only if we still have Friday flatbread." Amara laughed through tears. "Forever and always." Emma nodded seriously. "Then yes, I think it's a good idea." She hopped down and hugged them both. And in that moment, in that kitchen filled with morning light, a new family was born. Not replacing what was lost, but honoring it. Building something beautiful from the broken pieces. 6 months later, Thomas and Amara got married in a small ceremony at sunset. Emma was the flower girl, wearing a white dress and carrying a basket of roses. She took her job very seriously, carefully dropping petals along the aisle, her tongue sticking out in concentration. When Thomas and Amara said their vows, Emma stood between them, holding both their hands. The officiant asked if anyone objected to this union, and Emma raised her hand, making everyone laugh. Then she said, "I don't object. I just want to say I'm happy." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. That night, after the celebration, the three of them sat together on the balcony. Emma was in her pajamas, refusing to go to bed, wanting to stay up with her family. She leaned against Amara, half asleep. "Tell me the story again," she mumbled. "Which story?" Thomas asked. "The one about how Miss Amara came to us." So Amara told it, about how she arrived at the penthouse looking for work, how she met a little girl who'd stopped eating, how they sat together on the floor and shared their stories of loss, how one simple breakfast brought them together. Emma listened with her eyes closed, smiling. When the story ended, she whispered, "I think Mommy sent you to us." Amara kissed her head. "I think she did too." Emma yawned. "I'm glad she did." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Within minutes, Emma was asleep between them. Thomas and Amara sat there, neither wanting to move, both watching the city lights below and the stars above. They'd built something beautiful, something real, something worth every painful step it took to get there. And above them, in the vast night sky, somewhere beyond the stars, maybe Sarah was smiling. 2 years passed like chapters in a beautiful book. Emma turned 5, then 6. She started school, made friends, learned to read. She was a different child now. Happy, curious, full of life. But she never forgot her mother. In her room, she kept a photo on her nightstand. Sarah smiling, her arms open wide. Every night before bed, Emma would kiss her fingers and press them to the photo. "Good night, Mommy," she'd whisper. "I love you." And every Friday morning, without fail, Amara made flatbread with cheese and honey. It remained sacred. Their ritual, their way of remembering and honoring and choosing to keep living. Thomas changed too. He sold parts of his company, stepped back from the endless meetings and travel. He still worked, still built buildings, but now he built his schedule around Emma's life. School plays, parent-teacher conferences, afternoon park visits. He never missed another bedtime story, never missed another Friday breakfast, never missed another moment he could have with his daughter. "You know what the best thing I ever built was?" he told Amara one evening. "What?" He looked at Emma, who was playing with blocks on the floor. "This. This family. This life. Everything else is just buildings. This is what matters." Amara's business began to grow too. With Thomas's support, she started a small catering company, specializing in simple, home-cooked meals. She hired women from her village, giving them opportunities they'd never had before. Her food became known across Dubai, not because it was fancy or expensive, but because it was made with love. You could taste it. People said eating her food felt like being home. One evening, a reporter came to interview her for a lifestyle magazine. They wanted to know the secret to her success. Amara thought for a moment, then said, "There is no secret. I just cook the way my grandmother taught me, with simple ingredients and honest love. I think people are hungry for that. Not just the food, but the feeling behind it." "And how did you start this business?" the reporter asked. Amara smiled. "I met a little girl who taught me that sometimes the simplest things are the most healing. A little girl who reminded me that connection matters more than perfection." She didn't share the whole story. Some things were too precious to give to strangers, but she carried it with her always. On Emma's 7th birthday, they had a small party. Just family and a few friends from school. They made a cake together, all 3 of them in the kitchen, flour on their faces, laughing when Emma accidentally cracked an egg on the floor. When it was time to blow out the candles, Emma closed her eyes. Everyone sang. But before she blew, she looked up at the ceiling, like she was looking beyond it to something else. "What did you wish for?" one of her friends asked. Emma smiled. "I can't tell you, or it won't come true. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Emma crawled into Amara's lap on the couch. Miss Amara? Yes, baby? Can I tell you what I wished for? You don't have to. It's your secret. I know. But I want to. Amara stroked her hair. Okay then. Emma looked up at her with those bright, clear eyes. I wished that Mommy knows I'm happy. I wish she could see that I'm okay now. That I have you and Daddy. That we're a family. Amara's throat closed. Oh, Emma. Do you think she knows? I know she does. I think she's watching you every single day, so proud of how brave you are. How strong. How full of love. Emma nodded, satisfied.
Good.
Because I want her to know I didn't forget her. I just learned how to be happy and sad at the same time. Thomas, standing in the doorway, had to turn away to wipe his eyes. That night, after Emma was asleep, Thomas and Amara sat on their balcony under the stars. The city sparkled below them, eternal and bright. But they barely noticed. They were looking at each other. Do you ever think about how it all started? Thomas asked. How close we came to losing her. Every day, Amara said quietly. Every single day. If you hadn't walked through that door. But I did. She took his hand. I think that's what matters. Not the almost. Not what could have happened. What did happen? We found each other. We saved each other. Thomas brought her hand to his lips. I used to think I could control everything. Build anything.
Fix anything.
But I couldn't fix the most important thing. Because it wasn't about fixing, Amara said. It was about showing up. Being present. Loving even when it hurts.
You taught me that. No.
She shook her head. Emma taught us both. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind of silence that only comes when two people know each other completely. After a while, Amara spoke again. You know what I think about sometimes? That little girl sitting on the floor, so lost and alone. And I think about how many children are out there right now feeling the same way. Hurting. Invisible. Thomas looked at her. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we could help them. Maybe we could create something. A foundation. Programs for children who've lost parents. Support for families struggling with grief. Thomas's eyes lit up. We could. We absolutely could.
We know what it's like.
Both of us. We could use that. Turn our pain into purpose. Amara nodded. Exactly. They started planning that night. And 3 months later, they launched the Sarah Reed Foundation, named after Emma's mother. It provided grief counseling, support groups, and practical help. They hired therapists, yes, but also trained volunteers who'd experienced loss themselves. People who could sit with grieving children and say, I understand. I've been there too. Emma helped too. She'd visit the centers with her parents, playing with other children who were hurting, sharing her story when she was ready. She became a light for others walking through darkness. Years later, people would ask Thomas how he built such a successful life after such devastating loss. He'd always give the same answer. I didn't build it alone.
My daughter taught me to keep living.
My wife taught me to love again. And together, we learned that the worst moments of our lives don't have to be the end of our story. They can be the beginning of something beautiful, something that matters, something that helps others find their way home. Because that's what this story is really about. Not about a billionaire's daughter who stopped eating, but about how connection heals us, how vulnerability saves us, how love, in its simplest form, is the most powerful force in the world. It's about how a grandmother's recipe can save a life, how honest tears matter more than perfect words, how showing up is sometimes the bravest thing we can do. It's about 3 broken people who found each other in the darkness and chose, every single day, to walk toward the light, together. And that's the story I wanted to tell you today. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. True in the ways that matter most. True in the heart. If you're watching this and you're struggling, if you feel alone, if you've lost someone and don't know how to keep going, I want you to know something. You're not alone. Your pain is real. Your grief matters. But so do you. Your life matters. Your story isn't over. Sometimes healing comes from the last place we expect. Sometimes the help we need arrives in a simple moment. A kind word, a shared meal, someone who sees us and says, I understand.
Keep going.
Keep showing up. Keep loving even when it hurts. Because on the other side of this pain, there's life waiting for you. Beautiful, messy, imperfect life. And it's worth every difficult step it takes to get there.
The end.
Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the Story Room for meaningful stories that inspire and teach life lessons.